I will get the show on the road. So thank you for joining. My name is Troy Gonsalves. I'm the founder of Promethean Professional Services. Promethean Professional Services, our mission is to provide support, guidance, and insight to those people seeking career change or employment. Our values are we're creative, we're original, and we're rebellious. These values really reflect our approach to the advice and services that we provide to clients. We try to not be, like the other recruitment agencies, and so we live on the edge, so to speak, of the advice that we provide. We try to buck the status quo, and we challenge common practices within recruitment, and we'll get to some of those. This is my team that I work with. Alexandra and Chantal are both advisors for the Career Service Program. Collectively, our experience includes 5,000 resumes reviewed. We've done over 2,000 interviews. Between Chantal and myself and Alexandra, we've hired over 1,100 people over the course of the last few years. And we've provided about 200 feedback sessions to everyone that we've hired and has asked for feedback sessions. My own experience includes 3 years within the service industry, 2 years within the operations industry, 5 years of sales, marketing, and branding experience. And then the last 3 years were spent in recruitment. I led recruitment for one of the most reputable companies in Canada, Porter Airlines. You might know them. So I hired everything from flight attendants to project managers to customer service representatives to baggage handlers, everything. And now I'm a first-time entrepreneur. My services include the following here, but we're going to focus specifically on career branding. But let's get into this right now. So what exactly is career branding? For me, I've defined career branding as the intentional shaping, documenting, and communication of your life's work. And that's right, your life's work, not your work life. I think that's a very key difference that we should kind of consider, is that everything that you do in your life is towards a certain cause. And career branding captures not necessarily personal aspects, but things that you might be interested in and things that things that are helping to fuel your professional life. So career branding has about 4 different aspects to it, and there's 4 different steps. And I'll take you through those 4 different steps. Step 1 is to create awareness around your own mission, your own values, your accomplishments. It's defining moments of your career and the challenges that you faced. Step 2 is to identify the interests and ideas you would like to support professionally and how you can make a difference in supporting them. Step 3, it's about identifying the individuals and groups that will complement your career mission, interests, and ideas, and sync with them in order to build a community. And then you want to design your brand look, your feel, and communicate a plan. Identify the platforms and the frequency and the topics that you will discuss within your career branding journey. Why is career branding important? This is a good question. So career branding is important for many reasons. First reason, it helps to differentiate yourself in a crowded field. You get exposure to more opportunities. You're intentionally building a community. You're strengthening your professional brand voice. You're inspiring other people with your story. And most importantly, I feel you're being defined by who you are and why you do what you do, right? So you're not being defined by an organization that you work for, or you're not being defined by a skill set that you have. You're defining yourself, and then anything that falls under that, that's part of your career brand. So let's get into step 1, building self-awareness. This is the most important step in career branding. And so you build self-awareness because it is very, very important to understand not only understand yourself, but understand what your vision is for yourself. What are your values? What are your accomplishments? What are the defining moments within your career? And what are the challenges that you've experienced? And we'll get into why afterwards. So how to do it. In order to create awareness around yourself, there's a few things that you can do. The first thing I would recommend is to complete a career personality assessment and identify important themes like your values, your strengths, your work personality, your communication style, and your leadership style. Also reflect and identify the most notable career accomplishments that you've had and your defining moments. Those are very important because those will be wrapped up into you telling your career story. The third step is to understand how you are perceived by other people. Why is that important? Because other people hold stories about you or perceptions about you that can be positive or negative. And so it's very important for you to understand what are the perceptions about yourself that's out there. And this way, you can either help to amplify the positive or do what's necessary to change the negative. And the fourth step is to identify a clear objective and intention behind your career brand. Why are you doing this? Is it to get a job? Is it to build community? Do you want to be a thought leader in a particular space? Do you want to help mentor and lead other people? Why are you doing it? Understand the why behind this effort. And that is very, very important. Identifying interests and ideas, step 2. So when thinking about a career brand, you need to identify, the things that fuel you, right? What are the interests or the ideas that you want to support online and offline? So this can be a number of things. These things can include different volunteer opportunities. They can include things like, music. They can include art. They can include mentorship. They can include education. It doesn't have to be a direct focus in what you are currently pursuing, right? So you can be a project manager, but still have a love of the arts. And why this is important is because one of those things helps to fuel the other side, right? You get inspiration from art that can help you be a better, let's say, project manager. And so it's important to identify all the interests and the ideas that fuel you. I'm just going to check to see if we're all good on this side. Can you guys hear me okay? I see that I'm not being heard. Okay, perfect. Just one attendee. Got it. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't a larger issue. So I'll continue. The next thing you want to do is make a list of the content that resonates with you and record your opinion on those pieces of content. Why is this important in developing a career brand? So on LinkedIn, for example, there are feeds. You're being fed information from your different connections, the organizations that you follow, the companies that you follow, the thought leaders that you follow. You want to get a handle or a pulse on the things that spark your interest, and then mark down your perspective for review, right? What did you think about that thing? You don't have to say it right now. You don't have to share it with anyone, but I would start taking a list of all the interests that kind of spark that, thought in you, and mark down your own perspective. And we'll talk about why. The next thing you want to do is identify a gap or a niche that your perspective can complement or help to amplify. So what I mean by that is, if a particular industry that you are pursuing, let's call it, let's say you were pursuing the AI space, right? Artificial intelligence space. But there's something about a part of that space that people aren't talking about that you feel is important. Mark that down and become a specialist, if you can, in that particular space. So it can be something like ethics in AI, although ethics is a very big issue in AI, but that's just an example for you to kind of identify a gap or a niche in your perspective or in the things that you're interested in, a gap or a niche that you can help to fill and to become a specialized in. The next thing you want to do is to follow and take note of the communication style of people that you admire on social and why you admire that particular communication style. Because what that helps with is to help to shape your own communication style and develop a professional voice for you to then put out into the world. You can change it, obviously, but you can make it your own. But it's very important to identify and have those, if you want to call them champions that you look up to, and follow and understand how they communicate and why they communicate the way they do, right? So follow them and take note of their style. And if possible, try to use some of the techniques that they use when either writing or speaking. Part 3, design, communicate, and launch. So this is very important. Designing your career brand includes, defining things like color, the font that you use, the layout that you use for your communication, and the tone that you use for your communication. Every one of these things that I talked about here, color, font, layout, and tone, they are impacting people before they actually read what it is that you're saying. So why not take advantage of that unconscious processing and make sure that the color, the tone, the font that you're using is perfectly in line with how you want to be perceived. And there's a couple different resources to do that. Canva is a very good resource. I know Jen mentioned it earlier in her talk. Canva is an amazing resource for people to help to define their career brand. I use it that way, but certainly I can help if you need. The next thing I would say is make a list of content that resonates with you and record your opinion and review. So, sorry, that is a bit of a repetition there on that one. The fourth step for you, I would recommend that you build and foster a community. So actively seek and connect with those people who complement your career objectives and your brand intentions. I would also recommend that you return the favor and support people who support you when you start communicating the different elements of your brand. Identify and then make an effort to get to know the people that support you. This is outside of your network. This is outside of LinkedIn. This is outside of any social platform. You need to make an effort to get to know them in person or virtually. So what does this look like overall? Step 1 looks something like this. So this is a copy of my personality assessment and my deep dive into who I am and what I do. And I use a program called Truity for this, along with different inputs from different friends. And so on this particular report, it showed me, that I'm idealistic, but I'm also analytical. I'm not that pragmatic, but I'm more caring than I am pragmatic. It tells me that I communicate by building rapport. I focus on relationships. I encourage personal growth, and I celebrate individual contributions. My leadership style is advancing for change, developing unique solutions, empowering other people, and building rapport. And so this was very illuminating for me. And what I did with this is integrate it into parts of my online artifacts. So things like my resume, my LinkedIn profile. I integrated it into any interviews that I would do, and I integrate it into any engagement that I have with people. I lean on my strengths, and it helps to enhance my own personal brand when I know what I'm good at, what my core values are, how I express myself, and my adaptability. So this is one example of what you can do, but also I would stress to get feedback from other people. Designing your brand. So this is step 2. This is how this looks. So I created the Promethean Professional brand. And so the brand has a lot of different elements. The brand has elements such as colors, it has a personality, it has a tone, I use specific fonts, I have a mission, I have iconography, I have a meaning to what Promethean is. I would highly recommend that you do this for yourself. And I know it sounds like you're treating yourself like an organization, which is a good thing, because the best organizations have very sophisticated brand guidelines. You are a brand, and so you need to start thinking like a brand. So start identifying all these areas. Interests and ideas, how it looks. So my interests lie in things like robotics. I love music. I love social causes. I love helping people. And so I would share these interests and ideas across all my social networks. If you look in the middle, one of the things that I do every weekend throughout the summer is host front yard performances in my neighborhood. And so that's a picture that you see there of these performances that I have where I had a cellist, a violinist, and a flutist play in my front yard, and then I invited the entire community. It might not seem like it's relevant for a professional network, but I think it is, because it gives me depth of personality. It gives me something to relate to. A lot of my clients come from all different walks of life, and so it's important that I also showcase the depth of my own personality. Building community. What does that look like? Well, the first thing you want to do is start strategically adding people to your LinkedIn network. And I'm not talking just adding everyone. I'm talking adding people that have, let's say, similar schooling, are working at the organizations that you work for, that support the same causes and ideas that you support, that have an opinion on things that you are interested by, and start building a community out of that. I would recommend that, let's say you set a target of 5 or 10 people a day, and you choose the areas of which they will come from. I would also recommend, when you're building a community, you meet more of your connections, right? Reach out to someone randomly and say, hey, I want to speak with you. You also want to start supporting other people, because people will start supporting you. Right? Make an effort to comment and like on different people's posts. And they, I guarantee, will reciprocate that back to you. And what you'll notice is that doors start opening because of this community. Because I build my own personal brand, this opportunity right now to speak in front of you opened. And so that just goes to show the effort in making sure that your brand is well thought out and your brand is aligned with who you are. And just to recap, 4 steps: self-awareness, identify the interests and ideas, design and launch your brand, and identify the people that you want to support and build a community around those people. And that's it. So I'll go back to you guys for any questions at all that you might have. So what was the program called? So I used a few programs. I use Canva for the designing and building of my own brand. They do a great job of helping you keep everything in one place. And then I also use Truity, Truity, for the personality assessments, but also I talk to friends, I talk to colleagues and coworkers about, you know, their perception of me, and that helped to kind of like round things out. Are there documented studies which clearly show that brand development and communications is quantitatively advantageous in respect to finding jobs more easily or advancing careers further than otherwise would be seen in the absence of such branding efforts? I would say just look to the corporate world. There's a reason certain brands, corporate brands, let's say, succeed. It's because they have defined who they are, why they do what they do, and then all the elements that surround those corporate brands, including things like building community. They know who they are, they know what platforms to engage on, and they really, really have a very dedicated, regimented schedule and channels by which to communicate those brands. One of the other things that my organization is currently doing is helping people, BIPOC youth. I think I have a slide of it right here. So we are helping 100 BIPOC youth, single parents, and recent grads by providing them with free simulated interview and feedback sessions. So if you are interested in getting in on this and you fall into one of those categories, I'm going to put a form in the chat whereby you can register and take advantage of that offer of getting a free simulated interview for an upcoming job. And the process is really simple. What we do is you send us the job description, we create a behavioral-based interview for that particular job. We conduct a 30 to 40-minute interview, and then afterwards we provide you with feedback on how you did on that interview and tell you how you can improve. So if anyone is interested on that, we can certainly connect there, but feel free to add me on LinkedIn and we can talk more about career branding and how I can help you develop yours.